Hello everybody and welcome back to SFF180. It is Monday morning, March the 9th, and time once again for the mailbag. I hope you guys have had a great week and a great weekend. Mine has been good. I know it's been a little quiet on the channel for the last several days, so sorry about that, but there is stuff now in the pipeline, stuff coming up. Going to be a good productive week ahead. Matt Olson is working on some new thumbnail commissions tonight, so that's pretty exciting. Things to look forward to. But gonna go ahead and get right into the mailbag this week because, as you probably saw from the running time, this one is a chonk. The week before last was utterly dead in the mail, and then this past week, the flood has arrived. So going to get into these. Seriously, there's something like 16 or 17 regular packages and 2 big boxes. About half of this stuff looks like it's coming in from Tor. So I'm pretty excited to get into it. Only announcement is if you are nominating once again in the Hugos, if you are a member of New Zealand Worldcon coming up this summer, or if you were a member of last year's Worldcon in Dublin, you are allowed to nominate, so go ahead and get those nominations in. I think this is the final week, and of course, all of your favorite SFF booktubers will be very grateful if you consider us in the Fancast category, in which we are eligible. So thank you all for that, and yeah, without further ado, let's dive in, because I want to see what's in the mail. Going to start out with this big old chunk of a box. This one comes in from Random Penguin. Okay, there are no fewer than 5 books in that box, and with this one, we start out with Cyber Shogun Revolution. This is by Peter Tirius. It's in trade paperback from Ace Books, and this is the newest volume set in his United States of Japan universe, in which there are mechs and what have you. Don't have a sell sheet for this, so I'm just going to read it this way. Seattle, 2019. After a severe injury, ace mecha designer and pilot Reiko Morikawa is recruited into a secret organization plotting a revolt against the corrupt governor and Nazi sympathizer of the United States of Japan. When their plan to save the USJ from itself goes awry, the mission avoids failure only because the governor is killed by an assassin known as Bloody Mary. But the assassin isn't satisfied with just the governor. Bishop Wakana used to be a cop. Now he's an agent of the Taco, the secret police. Tracking a Nazi scientist, Bishop discovers a web of weapons smuggling, right? Black market mecha parts, and a mysterious assassin. Well, what do you know? This killer once hunted Nazis, but now seems to be targeting the USJ. As the leaders of the United States of Japan come to realize the devil's bargain they made in their uneasy alliance with the Nazis, Bishop and Reiko are hot on the trail of Bloody Mary, trying to stop her before it's too late. I mean, I don't know. It seems like I'm on Bloody Mary's side. But, yeah, so we have Cyber Shogun Revolution. These seem like fun books. If you've read them, let us all know in the comments what you think. But I'm going to guess this is out now from Ace as a March trade paperback. And next we have in hardcover from Daw, a book that has always looked really intriguing to me. The cover design and everything has a lot of mystique to it. This is a book called Cries from the Lost Island. The author is Kathleen O'Neill Gear, and the synopsis goes like this. Set against the glory and tragedy of ancient Roman Egypt, this novel explores the greatest love story of all time. 16-year-old Hal Stevens is a budding historian from a small town in Colorado. A virtual outcast in high school, he has only 2 friends, Roberto, nicknamed the Biker Witch, and Cleo Malawi. Cleo also claims to be the reincarnation of Queen Cleopatra. She also believes she's being stalked by an ancient Egyptian demon, Amut, the devourer of the dead. When Hal and Roberto find Cleo murdered in the forest near her home, it appears she may have been telling the truth. Her last request sends them journeying to Egypt with famed archaeologist Dr. James Moriarty, where it quickly becomes clear that Cleo has set them on the quest of a lifetime, the hunt for the lost graves of Mark Antony and Cleopatra. But they are not alone in their search. Cleo's murderers are watching their every move, and not all of them are human. All right, then. So, it's Cries from the Lost Island by Kathleen O'Neill Gear, a March hardcover from Daw Books. And next up, also in hardcover from Dahl, we have False Value by Ben Aronovich. This is the newest volume in his Rivers of London urban fantasy series about PC Peter Grant, although I think Peter Grant is no longer just a PC. But yeah, let's go ahead and see what this one is all about. Peter Grant is facing fatherhood and an uncertain future with equal amounts of panic and enthusiasm. Rather than sit around, he takes a job with emigre Silicon Valley tech genius Terence Skinner's brand new London startup, the Sirius Cybernetics Company. Cute reference, okay? Drawn into the orbit of Old Street's famous Silicon roundabout, Peter must learn how to blend in with people who are both civilians and geekier than he is. Compared to his last job, Peter thinks it should be a breeze. But magic is not finished with Mama Grant's favorite son. Because Terence Skinner has a secret hidden in the bowels of the SCC, a technology that stretches back to Ada Lovelace and Charles Babbage, and the forward to the future of artificial intelligence. A secret that is just as magical as it is technological, and just as dangerous. Okay. So that is False Value by Ben Aronovich. If you are a fan of this series, then you will be happy to know it is a March hardcover from Daw. And next we have an Ace trade paperback. This is by S.M. Sterling, and this is Shadows of Annihilation. This is an alternate World War I saga, and it is the third volume in this series. So, you know, I guess it would be nice to maybe get caught up with these, because they seem like they would be more interesting than his previous series, The Change, which went on forever and ever and ever. So this would be something fresh. But it's the third novel in a World War I alternate history series where America's greatest weapons against Germany are the Black Chamber agents Luz O'Malley and Clara Whelan. But only they can protect America's best hope of winning the war. The Great War is at a stalemate, and the only thing stopping Germany from striking America is the possibility of the United States using annihilation gas against them. Well, that sounds bad. But America's stolen reserves are quickly decaying. In the remote highlands of Mexico, a gas plant is preparing to provide America with their own supply. President Teddy Roosevelt assigns crack agent Luz O'Malley and a technical genius, Ciara Whelan, to assess any possible threats to the plant while operating under covert identities. But German agent Horst von Duckler has an ally of his own. Isn't that just like a sneaky Hun? Right. Consumed with rage after escaping from a POW camp in El Paso, he's heading in their direction with Captain Ernst Röhm. Oh dear. Armed with a deadly new weapon provided by Röhm, Horst is eager to sabotage the plant, deprive America of its deterrent, and kill tens of thousands. On their own turf, Luz and Ciara are in more danger than ever from a tireless enemy bent on revenge, and it all unfolds in Shadows of Annihilation by S.M. Sterling. And finally, in this box, we have The Queen's Bargain. This is in hardcover from Ace. It's by Anne Bishop, and it is the newest book in her Black Jewels series, which goes back many, many years, and this is the first book in that series in quite a while. And so, well, let's see what I can read on the flap about this one. It says, power has a price and so does love. Return to the dark, sensual, and powerful world of the Black Jewels in this long-awaited news story in the New York Times bestselling fantasy saga. Okay. After a youthful mistake, Lord Dillon's reputation is in tatters, leaving him vulnerable to aristo girls looking for a bit of fun. Oh dear. To restore his reputation and honor, he needs a handfast, a 1-year contract of marriage. He sets his sights on Gillian, a young Aryan witch from Ibon-Ri, whom he believes has only a flimsy connection to the noble society that spurned him. Unfortunately for Dillon, he is unaware of Gillian's true connections until he finds himself facing Lucivar Yaslana, the volatile warlord prince of Ibon-Ri. Meanwhile, Cyril Sa-Diablo's marriage is crumbling. Damon, okay, there's all these names and all these different people. Okay, so it sounds like a whole bunch of drama amongst a ton of aristocrats. And yeah, if that sounds like your cup of tea, well, then dive in, all right? But The Queen's Bargain is a March hardcover from Ace Books by Anne Bishop. Okay, there you have that. Before getting into the next big box, I think I'm going to whittle down some of these individual packages, and this is another one from Random Penguin. And this is an arc for a book coming out from Del Rey on June the 2nd. This is by Terry Brooks, and it is The Fall of Shannara, the Last Druid. And this is apparently the very, 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 honest to goodness this time, very last Shannara novel Terry Brooks is ever going to write. He is done with the entire saga. It's taken more than 40 years, and so here we are with The Last Druid. As the Four Lands reels under the Scar invasion, spearheaded by warlike people determined to make this land their own, our heroes must decide what they will risk to save the integrity of their home. Okay, so if you have been following the saga along all these years, well, now this is the culmination of all of it. But The Last Druid from Terry Brooks will be out from Del Rey on June the 2nd. All right, and this next one comes in from Skyscape, okay? And it's the finished copy of The Electric Air by Victoria Lee. And this is the second book in a YA series, and they did send me the first one. In fact, they sent me this one also as an ARC. So I've been aware of it, but this is the sequel to a book called The Fever King, which some of you have told me that you read and quite liked, as a matter of fact. So let's see, when is this one happening? March the 17th, this will be out. When The Fever King launched, readers of all ages and backgrounds were captivated by its diverse characters, striking blend of magic, technology, and science, and skewering of many timely social and political issues. The central figure of Noam, a remarkable and flawed main character who happens to be biracial, Latino and Jewish, and bisexual, stole both hearts and minds, and a cliffhanger ending left the series fans eager for more of the fresh and surprising dystopian storyline. And even as its tense action sequences entertained, the powerful and unwavering insights on issues of abuse and violence from the narrative voice resonated. Okay, well, if it had a cliffhanger ending in book one, I don't think I should read any more synopsis, right? To spoil that. But The Electric Air is the sequel to The Fever King, which I have. Sounds like I might have to check these out. But this one will be out on March 17th, so a week from tomorrow. And with this one, we go back to Random Penguin. Well, this appears to be the week in which long-running series are coming to an end. We just had Shannara, and now we have this book, Winds of Wrath, by Taylor Anderson, and this is the 15th and apparently final Destroyermen novel. This is an alternate history military SF series, which debuted in 2008. It's geared towards fans, it says, of S.M. Sterling, David Weber, and Jack Campbell. A gripping alternate history packed with intense battles and life-or-death decisions. Okay. And it's about the human race coming into contact with aliens, and then, war is apparently involved, and it held people's attention for 15 books. So it had a very, very loyal following, evidently. So this one will be out on June the 9th. Concluding the Destroyermen series by Taylor Anderson, it is Winds of Wrath. Now, next up, it looks as if I have a couple of packages that have come in from Titan Books. This should be interesting. Let's see what we have. Oh, now this one looks like it is very, very much up my street. This is a book called Recoil. The author is J.T. Nicholas. Carter Langston is murdered while salvaging a derelict vessel. A major inconvenience, as he's downloaded into a brand new body on the space station where he backed up several weeks' journey away. But events quickly slip out of control when an assassin breaks into the medbay and tries to finish the job. Oh dear. Death no longer holds sway over humanity that has been spread across the solar system. Consciousness can be placed in a new body or coils straight after death, giving people the potential for immortality. Okay, that sounds very much like something out of Altered Carbon. But anyway, going on, it says, Carter's backups, supposedly secure, have all been damaged. His crew are missing, and everything points back to the derelict that should have been a simple salvage mission. With enemies in hot pursuit, Carter tracks down his last crewmate, recoiled after death into a body she cannot stand, to delve deeper into a mystery that threatens humanity and identity as they have come to know it. Okay, well, despite some familiar elements, it sounds like the kind of space opera mystery thriller that I would really get into. But it's by J.T. Nicholas, Recoil, and I guess it's available now or this month from Titan Books. And the second book in from Titan this week I'm very, very happy with. This is Light of Impossible Stars by Gareth L. Powell, and it is the concluding volume in his Embers of War trilogy. Which is a wildly acclaimed space opera trilogy that I can now binge, and I'm very, very excited about that. But this one is out also now from Titan Books, and I guess I don't want to give much of a synopsis because this is book 3, and I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who have yet to start all of it, but it is set aboard the sentient warship Trouble Dog. It's apparently just chock full of action. I already know that I like Gareth Powell as an author a great deal, so if you've been looking to start this series, now is the time. Light of Impossible Stars, available from Titan Books. This next book now comes in from Rebellion Publishing, and this is very exciting to see because I've heard quite a bit of buzz about this. But this is a book called Beneath the Rising. The author is Premi Muhammad. And it's already kind of unusual. You have this sort of like circular shaped design that looks a little bit like the alien language in Arrival. But I'm thinking that there's something quite different going on here. But here, well, let me check I always have to flip. Sometimes you're like, oh, this one has a no, it's just a packing slip. Darn it. Yep, gonna have to read the back. Okay. Hope has a price. Nick Prasad has always enjoyed a quiet life in the shadow of his best friend, child prodigy and technological genius Joanna Johnny Chambers. But all of that is about to end. When Johnny invents a clean reactor that could eliminate fossil fuels and change the world, she awakens primal, evil ancient ones set on subjugating humanity. From the oldest library in the world to the ruins of Nineveh, hunted at every turn, they will need to trust each other completely to survive. Okay. So basically trying to come up with forms of alternate energy, and you awaken like, the Cthulhu and all of his pals. This sounds like it could be a ton of fun, but I'm guessing it is available now from Rebellion Publishing, a Solaris Books imprint, actually, to be precise. Beneath the Rising by Premi Muhammad. Let me know in the comments. Wow, just sounds like just cool original stuff coming in this week. I like it. All right, now everything coming up next for like the next 7 or 8 packages is going to be stuff from Macmillan, okay? And we're going to start out with this one, which is a little chunk in a box. All right, you guys, this is a very, very massive arc for a book that I was literally like this morning years old before I knew it even existed and was happening. But as you see, it's called The Living Dead. The authors are credited as George A. Romero, the late George Romero, and Daniel Kraus. And apparently what this is, according to the sell sheet here, it seems that George Romero, at the time of his death, was working on a big zombie novel. Apparently it was the story of the zombie plague as George A. Romero wanted to tell it. Okay? And then, he died, and so now Daniel Kraus has been left to finish it. Interesting. So this comes out June the 9th. It's massive. It's like 650-page chonker of a book. But it says it's set in the present day. The Living Dead is an entirely new tale, the story of the zombie plague as George A. Romero wanted to tell it. It begins with one body. A pair of medical examiners find themselves battling a dead man who won't stay dead. It spreads quickly. In a Midwestern trailer park, a black teenage girl and a Muslim immigrant battle newly risen friends and family. On a U.S. aircraft carrier, living sailors hide from dead ones, while a fanatic makes a new religion out of death. At a cable news station, a surviving anchor keeps broadcasting while his undead colleagues try to devour him. In D.C., an autistic federal employee charts the outbreak, preserving data for a future that may never come. Elsewhere, people are targeted by both the living and the dead. We think we know how this story ends. We are wrong. Huh. All right. Well, it looks like he's really trying to give this one the Stand treatment, as it were. But The Living Dead, available on June the 9th from Tor. Huh. Let me know in the comments. Wow. Yeah, really auspicious time for a book like that to be coming out, right? How are you guys doing on keeping your hands washed, right? You're washing your hands. You're not touching your faces. Okay, good for you. Anyway, this next Tor package is very skinny, which is a nice contrast to the previous one. I'm going to bet this is a Tor.com novella. Now, I was right about that. This is the finished copy of The Empress of Salt and Fortune. They have already sent me the arc, but I'll read this again. It's by Inghai Vo, which I am only guessing at that pronunciation. The name is spelled Nghi. So this will be out on the 24th. And it goes like this. With The Empress of Salt and Fortune, Inghai Vo has created a vivid high fantasy world, both familiar and new. Characters who you can't help but fall in love with, and she writes it all with prose that will break your heart. This is a book that features talking birds, court intrigues, glowing scarlet lakes, and fortune-telling spies. But it's more importantly about the subtle magic of women who cannot be broken. Inspired by classical East Asian history and mythology, The Empress of Salt and Fortune tells the story of the Empress Inyo, who came from the north to marry the southern emperor of Pine and Steel, only to be exiled as soon as she provides him with an heir. This is a woman who refuses to be cowed, who spends years in quiet rebellion before fiercely riding her war mammoths into battle against the emperor and all he stands for. Okay, well, there you go. If she's got mammoths, I'm on board. Very cool. Her handmaiden, Rabbit, stands by her side with unwavering loyalty. Both of them contain a righteous anger and a resolve that tears down kingdoms. All right, and it all happens in 128 pages. The Empress of Salt and Fortune. I'll be reviewing this one really soon. And this next one is also from Tor.com Publishing. This is a finished copy of Hearts of Oak by Eddie Robson. This will be out on the 17th. And let's see, it's a thrilling and twist-filled novel that would be welcomed by fans of high-concept science fiction. Yeah, it's like 272 pages, so not a novella, full novel. And I've gotten the art for this one, and it looks really nice. It says it's a surreally comedic book. Hearts of Oak stars Iona, an architect close to retirement. After her colleague Weston dies, she finds herself part of a chain of events that leads to the discovery that her world is not what it seems. What follows is a dreamlike novel featuring an ever-expanding city, a king whose confidant is a talking cat, spaceships, wormholes, and questions about the very nature of reality. Nice. Eddie Robson is a British comedy and science fiction writer, best known for the sitcom Welcome to Our Village, Please Invade Carefully, and his work on a variety of spin-offs from BBC television series Doctor Who. Okay, so he's probably a name familiar to quite a few of you, but this will be out on the 17th. Hearts of Oak. Next in from Tor, we have the next book in the Tor Essentials reprint line, and this is a reissue of Among Others by Jo Walton. This is a book she won the Hugo and Nebula Awards for back in 2012. This edition is already out. It came out on the 3rd, okay? And it says, Jo Walton's gripping fantasy about the power of story to transform our lives is a perfect addition to the Tor Essentials line. Raised by a half-mad mother who dabbled in magic, Morwenna Phelps found refuge in two worlds. As a child growing up in Wales, she played among the spirits who made their homes in industrial ruins. But her mind found freedom in the science fiction novels that were her closest companions. Yeah, this whole book is basically a love letter to growing up reading science fiction. When her mother tried to bend the spirits to dark ends, Mori was forced to confront her in a magical battle that left her crippled and her twin sister dead. Now, having fled to a father she barely knew, Mori is sent to boarding school in England, a place all but devoid of true magic. There, she tempts fate by doing magic herself in an attempt to find a circle of like-minded friends. But her magic attracts the attention of her broken and malign mother, pulling Morwenna towards a reckoning that will draw on everything she has learned in her years of engagement with stories and books. Okay, so startling, unusual, and irresistibly readable. Among Others is at once the compelling story of a young woman struggling to escape a troubled childhood, a brilliant diary of first encounters with the great novels of modern fantasy and science fiction, and a spellbinding tale of escape from ancient enchantment. And this reissue came out on the 3rd, so it's available now from Tor Essentials. Next up, the Tor.com novellas keep rolling in, and this one is Drowned Country. This is the new one from Emily Tesh, who wrote Silver in the Wood. This comes out on June the 16th, and it says it is a sequel. It says her spin on the Green Man myth and the slow-burning love story of Henry Silver and Tobias Finch was praised as exquisitely crafted and blah, blah, blah. So we are now back to the Green Hollow, the conclusion to the Green Hollow duology. So again, I don't know that I want to read much about this synopsis so as not to spoil anything. But it says, Drowned Country has got gothic ruins, vampires, a wickedly inhuman fairy queen, and a damsel who very much does not want saving. This is a story about fighting monsters, yes, but it's also a love story filled with regrets and yearning gazes, about two fragile hearts and how they mend with time, perspective, and a little bit of magic. That's very sweet and heartwarming. But it comes out June the 16th, so the sequel to Silver in the Wood, Drowned Country. And moving on, we got a lot more Tor stuff to go. And this next one is one that I know a ton of you are very, very excited for any more information about. This is The Angel of the Crows, and it is the second novel by Catherine Addison. Long-awaited follow-up, although not the sequel, but it is the second novel by Catherine Addison, which is the pseudonym for Sarah Monette. But, you know, the Goblin Emperor was very much its own thing, and so this is a new fantasy novel where Killer Stalk London and the Ultimate Power is naming the Angel of the Crows. So it's going to be a very, very different sort of a thing, very much unique unto itself as the Goblin Emperor was. In this alternate 1880s London, angels inhabit every public building, and vampires and werewolves walk the streets with human beings under a well-regulated truce. Jack the Ripper stalks the streets of this London too, but this London has an angel, the Angel of the Crows. Under the mystery, the magic, and the horror of this story lies the utterly unique friendship between a curious angel and the dashing Dr. Doyle, a war veteran with secrets of his own. From the author of The Goblin Emperor comes the freshest, most heartfelt take on Sherlock Holmes and Watson you've ever read. Okay, so it's pretty much like bringing everything in, everything but the kitchen sink. And yeah, you know, vampires and werewolves alone would usually be the sort of thing that would just turn me off from a book right away. But it's Catherine Addison. Okay, so I'm quite sure that there will be a very fresh and a very inventive spin on all of these familiar tropes. And I suspect that it is going to be, you know, as among others was for science fiction, this is going to be a love letter, you know, to a lot of these, you know, Victorian Gothic, you know, paranormal mystery kind of stories. So yeah, wow. It's out on June the 23rd from Tor Books, The Angel of the Crows. And next we have another arc from Tor. This is the new novel by Lavi Tidhar, which I have been looking forward to. It's another one on my anticipated list for this year. It's called By Force Alone. This comes out June the 16th, and it's described as a one-of-a-kind, timely retelling of the Arthurian myth for the modern age. Britannia AD 535, the Romans have gone. While their libraries smolder, roads decay, and cities crumble, men with swords pick over civilization's carcass, slaughtering and being slaughtered in turn. This is the story of just such a man. Like the others, he had a sword. He used it. He slew until slain. Unlike the others, we remember him as King Arthur. This is the story of a land neither green nor pleasant, an eldritch isle of deep forest and dark fell, haunted by swathes and todlowries, Robin Goodfellows and Jenny Greenteeths, boggarts and predators of rarer appetite yet. This is the story of a legend forged from a pack of self-serving, turd-gilding, weasel-worded lies told to justify foul deeds and ill-gotten gains. All right. Just come on, tell me how you really feel. This is the story, viscerally entertaining, ominously subversive, and poetically profane, of a Dark Age myth that shaped a nation. A savage and cutting epic fantasy, equally poetic and profane. By Force Alone is at once a timely political satire, a magical adventure, and a subversive masterwork. All right then, and it will be out June the 16th from Tor.com by Lavi Tidhar, By Force Alone. Getting down to the bottom of the Tor arrivals this week, and it has been a very, very generous stack. This one is not an arc. This is a paperback anthology coming out tomorrow on the 10th called Dragon Age to Winter Nights. So all you Dragon Age fans, admittedly, the only one of the series that I have played was the third one, but really, really enjoyed that. I still have some of it yet to go. I can sort of set it aside. I need to finish it because I'm looking forward to Dragon Age 4, which is evidently on the horizon. Nice. Alrighty then, To Winter Nights, as I said, it's out tomorrow. A collection of 15 stories. Admittedly, I am not familiar with most of these writers. In fact, I'm not familiar with a single one of them. But perhaps they are people who are very, very active in Dragon Age fandom. But it brings you, the anthology brings you thrilling tales of adventure from every corner of Thedas. All right, from the stoic Grey Wardens to the otherworldly Mortalitasi necromancers, from the proud Dalish elves to the underhanded Antivan Crow assassins. Dragon Age is filled with monsters, magic, and memorable characters making their way through dangerous world whose only constant is change. All right, then. So welcome to Thedas. Tomorrow, Dragon Age to Winter Nights. Yeah, it's got this fold-out full-color map here as well. That's pretty nice. Okay, and the final book from Tor this week, and it's been a very generous stack, is probably the most exciting of the batch. As you see, this is The Relentless Moon. It is the third novel in the Lady Astronaut series by Mary Robinette Kowal, and it comes out July the 14th. And gosh, what can I say? While the calculating stars and the fated sky followed Dr. Elma York to Mars, The Relentless Moon turns to the challenges of establishing a colony on the Moon. It follows a new main character, Nicole Worgan, former WASP astronaut and the wife of the governor of Kansas, as she deals with a bomb, an exploding rocket, Earth-first terrorists, and every possible catastrophe that could befall a lonely colony far away on the Moon. You know, I think it does actually say something very believable about basic human intelligence, that if we ever had a situation where a meteorite hit the Earth and literally all life on Earth was doomed, you would still get a group of fanatics out there going, no, we must stay here and, you know, go on with our lives, right? You know, it's just how people are. You know, you're always going to get those folks. But anyway, this one, as I said, will be out on July the 14th, The Relentless Moon by Mary Robinette Kowal. I'm very, very excited to get into this. Whew, okay, what a batch of stuff from Tor that was, but check it out. This is coming in from Saga Press. I remember I've spoken to the publicist directly about this, so Saga Press is about to rival that batch. There has been an issue with getting review copies from Saga ever since they switched over from Simon & Schuster as the parent company to Gallery Books handling the imprint. It's been a bit awkward in terms of getting books from them. I used to get it like reliably every month. I would get new Saga stuff, and then it like died. So this apparently is a big catch-up batch of Saga books that is also new as well as forthcoming, and some stuff that has probably already been out. But yeah, we're going to dig into it because this thing is really heavy. Oh man, yeah, a ton of stuff, and I didn't bother counting. I'm going to estimate there are about 8 books in this box. So we're going to start here with this one, which is The Down Days. The author is Ilse Hugo. This is a book that's coming out May the 5th. And it says it's for fans of the magical realism of the Book of M and the shadowy conspiracies of the X-Files. The hallucinatory humor of this debut novel will appeal to those fans, apparently. It goes like this. On January 30th, 1962, in the small town of Lake Tanganyika, present-day Tanzania, a group of girls started laughing and couldn't stop. What became known as the Lake Tanganyika laughter epidemic lasted for 16 days and affected hundreds in the small town. Inspired by the absurd but true story, The Down Days blends magical realism in a near-future post-apocalypse tale set in a fictional city modeled after Cape Town, South Africa. The novel takes the tale of Lake Tanganyika and darkens it into a mass epidemic turned deadly in which the sick, known as grinners, now suffer from hallucinations and paranoia. Ooh, okay. Set in a world where, God, boy, we're just getting the plague stories these days, right? Wash your hands. Anyway, set in a world where laughter is illegal and everyone wears a mask. The Down Days grapples with the nature of truth and post-truth. In a world where facts are subjective and rumors become real, filled with characters whose occupations include freelance truthologist, data dealer, sin eater, and hyena man. Okay. The Down Days is the Book of M meets the X-Files in a world of absurdity that still feels relatable to readers today. Okay. And Ilse Hugo is a native of Cape Town. Interesting. Wow. Okay. This sounds like very kind of dark satire that I would really go for. But The Down Days, available on May the 5th. Now, here's another one that I've heard buzzed about on Twitter and elsewhere a little bit, and I'm fascinated by it. This is a book called Savage Legion. The author is Matt Wallace, who wrote the Sin du Jour novels for Tor.com Publishing. This one comes out on July the 21st, and it goes something like this. They call them savages. Brutal, efficient, expendable. The Empire relies on them, the greatest weapon they ever developed. Culled from the streets of their cities, they take the ones no one will miss and throw them by the thousands at the Empire's enemies. If they live, they fight again. If they die, well, there's always more. Evie is not a savage. She's a warrior with a mission, to find the man she once loved, to find the man who holds the key to exposing the secret of the Savage Legion and ending the mass conscription of the Empire's poor and wretched. But to find him, she must become one of them, to be marked in her blood, to fight in their wars, and to find her purpose. Eva will die a savage if she has to, but not before showing the world who she really is and what the Savage Legion can really do. Okay, and it's from Matt Wallace, coming out from Saga Press on July the 21st. And this next one is one that I have really been wanting to read because it is just right up my street. It's an Ellen Datlow horror anthology. You don't get any better than that. This is called Echoes, and it is a collection of ghost stories. And it's massive. And listen to these names. I guess it's all new as well as old writers. Paul Tremblay is in here. Pat Cadigan, Richard Cadry, Shannon Maguire, Joyce Carol Oates, Indra Das, Gemma Files, Nick Mamatis, John Langan is in here, A.C. Wise, Jeffrey Ford, Brian Evenson, Nathan Ballingrud, Garth Nix, Bracken McLeod, Stephen Graham Jones, M. Rickert, Aliette de Bedard, and among classic writers, Frances Marion Crawford. And let me just look up the F. Marion Crawford story, because if it's the one, I think it is, and it should be. Let me just look. Yes! A story called The Upper Berth is in here. It's an old story, classic story by F. Marion Crawford from like the early part of the 20th century. I consider it to be, if not the very best, one of the very best ghost stories I've ever read. It's just so beautiful and understated. It's perfect. So, like that alone, I would get this book for it if I was a fan of ghost stories. The Upper Berth is in here. Yay, good call, Ellen. So Echoes is available now from Saga Press. And next we have Gravity of a Distant Sun. Now this is by R.E. Stearns, and it is the third book in the series that started with Barbary Station, which is a book that I have been hearing very, very mixed reviews about, although I have, I was really eager for it when it first came out, and then I started hearing the reviews are kind of mixed. But in any event, I still kind of want to check it out, and we now have the third book in that series, following Barbary Station, and then Mutiny at Vesta, and now we have Gravity of a Distant Sun. And it follows the adventures of Ada Karp and Iridian Nasir. They're on the run, both from the authorities who want to imprison them and from the artificial intelligence that wants to control their minds. Trapped on a desolate black market space station on the edge of Jupiter, they're nearly out of allies and out of luck. What I understand is that there's a whole lot of techie SF stuff going on in this, as well as the characters, which if you're just reading for characters and relationships, you might not get into that. But if you are something of a more hard SF minded person, you might like these more than the conventional reader. But anyway, Gravity of a Distant Sun by R.E. Stearns is available now from Saga Press. Okay, this next one is one that I have been dying to get for the longest time, finally in-house, thank you so much. This is an arc for The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones, a Native American writer, and this is being pushed like it's going to be the horror novel of 2020. The horror novel of 2020, and I'm very excited, but I'm seeing conflicting release dates here. The cover of the arc actually says April the 7th, but the sell sheet here says May the 19th. I don't know which is accurate. Maybe Goodreads will, verify one or another of those dates. The other awkward kind of thing is that all the sell sheets here, and I spent a few seconds looking over them, are full of raving about the book, but they don't really tell me anything about the synopsis, so I'm going to have to read the back of the back cover here. The creeping horror of Paul Tremblay meets Tommy Orange's There, in a dark novel of revenge, cultural identity, and the cost of breaking from tradition in this latest novel from the Jordan Peele of horror literature, Stephen Graham Jones. Seamlessly blending classic horror and a dramatic narrative with sharp social commentary, The Only Good Indians follows 4 American Indian men after a disturbing event from their youth puts them in a desperate struggle for their lives. Tracked by an enemy bent on revenge, these childhood friends are helpless as the culture and traditions they left behind catch up to them in a violent, vengeful way. Wow. Okay. And if you know anything about Stephen Graham Jones, he is not going to pull any punches. But this will either be out in April or May from Saga Press, The Only Good Indians. Next up, this one is an epic fantasy, so back from horror into fantasy. With Saga Press, this is a book called The Kingdom of Liars. The author is Nick Martell, and this one will be out on May the 5th, it says. And it goes like this. In this brilliant debut fantasy, a story of secrets, rebellion, and murder are shattering the hollows, where magic costs memory to use, and only the son of the kingdom's despised traitor holds the truth. Michael is branded a traitor as a child because of the murder of the king's 9-year-old son by his father, David Kingman. 10 years later, Michael knows something is there in the hot white emptiness of his mind that can clear his family name. In a world where memory is the coin that pays for magic, the Hollows is ruled by... Oh, so you have to do magic, you have to lose a bit of your memory. That's the price. Huh, all right. The Hollows is ruled by a royal family that is spiraling into a self-serving dictatorship, just as gun-wielding rebels clash against the country's magically trained militia. I get that there's probably a bit of social commentary going on here. What the truth holds will completely change the Hollows, and Michael Kingman and his family and friends are determined to do the impossible. Okay, and there's a blurb here from Brandon Sanderson, who appears to think very highly of this. But, yeah, The Kingdom of Liars by Nick Martell will be out on May the 5th. And we are now down to the very last, but by no means least, book in this pile, and it is Vagabonds. This is a first novel by Hao Jing Fang. First Chinese woman ever to win a Hugo. She won the Hugo a few years back for a novelette called Folding Beijing. This is now her first novel. It is in from Saga Press. It is translated by Ken Liu. It will be available on, what does it say? April the 14th. And this sucker is 600 pages, so... Cool. All right. I've just been really, really excited with the efforts of Ken Liu to bring more Chinese authors to American readers. You know, I reviewed Waste Tide last year by Chen Qiu Fan, which was cool, which was really good. So I am super hyped for this. But let's see what this is about. 2096, colonized Mars breaks away from Earth, beginning another Cold War, one based upon the Iron Curtain of space. 2196. A delegation of young Martians, including the Consul of Mars's granddaughter, Luo Ying, are sent to live on Earth for 5 years in an attempt at reconciliation. 2201. Luo Ying and the other delegates return and find themselves no longer belonging to either Mars or Earth. As the prospect of war with Earth grows, Luo Ying struggles to understand her grandfather's long-range designs for a wet Mars, and her role in the future unfurling before her. Vagabonds is a work of literary science fiction that transcends genre. In the vein of Liu Sujian's The Three-Body Problem, Hao has created a novel of political intrigue and philosophical dissonance that speaks to a generation of readers who find themselves continually displaced within our current culture. I was also thinking, just reading that synopsis there, that it sounds very much also like the kind of thing Kim Stanley Robinson might write, right? But anyway, Vagabonds by Hao Jing Fang will be available April the 14th from Saga Press. And there you have it. A truly, truly epic mailbag. You guys know the drill. Light up those comments. Let me know which of these looks most interesting and exciting to you, and which you would like to see me prioritize for review. Otherwise, if you enjoyed watching, hit that like button, share the video far and wide with all of your SFF reading friends, and above all, please subscribe if you haven't done so. That is how the channel grows. You can also support the channel at my TeePublic store and at my Patreon, where recruits into Mike's Army get little perks like getting to see my videos early access. I want to thank those wonderful people for their additional support. It is greatly appreciated. I want to thank all the rest of you for being the very best viewers in all of BookTube, and... I'm tired. That wasn't a very good series of snaps. I'm sorry. It just is what it is. But I will see you all next time, and happy reading, and wash your hands.